This 4-year-old beggar girl gets spit on by a man at the farmer's market, but a millionaire saw it, and something shocking happens. Comment what you think will happen and subscribe to my channel to support my work. The spit hit Lily's small face with a violence that echoed throughout the whole of the Pleasantville farmer's market. The 4-year-old girl wiped the spit with the dirty sleeve of her torn t-shirt without crying, as if it were just another common moment in her life of hardship. Her big, dark eyes only blinked a few times before returning to look at the fruit stand, where the red apples shone like unreachable jewels. Walter Sterling, 52, stopped abruptly as he witnessed the scene. His hands, always steady when closing multi-million-dollar deals, trembled slightly as he held his Italian leather briefcase. The businessman, known for his cold, calculating demeanor, felt something strange stir in his chest, a feeling he hadn't experienced in years. "Get out of here, you little stink!" yelled Bob, the fruit vendor, brandishing a dirty rag in the girl's direction. "How many times do I have to tell you I don't give anything away for free? Go away before I call the cops." Lily stepped back a few paces, tripping over her own skinny legs. Her stomach rumbled so loudly that Walter could hear it even with the noise of the market. The child wore only a yellowish t-shirt and shorts that had once been blue, but were now an undefined color from accumulated dirt. "Come here, honey," called a raspy voice. Donna, a 38-year-old woman with prematurely graying hair, appeared between the people. Her face, marked by the sun and hard life, carried an expression of infinite weariness. "Don't bother the vendors." Walter watched the interaction between the two, noting how Lily immediately ran into the older woman's arms. There was something about that hug that bothered him deeply. The way Donna held the girl seemed more possessive than protective, and the child's eyes didn't show the affection expected when seeing who was supposedly her grandmother. "Please, ma'am," Donna addressed a nearby shopper, "do you have any spare change to help a grandma with her granddaughter? The girl hasn't eaten in 2 days." The woman looked away, pretending not to have heard. Other people moved away discreetly, as if poverty were contagious. Walter continued watching, his analytical mind registering every detail. Lily's bare feet, cut and dirty, the strong odor emanating from both of them, the way Donna controlled every movement of the child. Throughout the morning, Walter couldn't concentrate on the business he had come to Pleasantville to resolve. His construction company, Sterling and Associates, had important projects underway, but his mind constantly returned to that scene. The controlling personality that made him feared in business now turned against himself, creating an obsessive need to understand what he had witnessed. At noon, while having lunch at the best diner in town, Walter saw the two again. Lily and Donna were outside, watching through the window the people eating. The girl pressed her little face against the glass, leaving small marks of dirty fingers. Her eyes followed every bite that the customers took to their mouths. Walter called the waiter and ordered 2 complete meals to go. His calculating nature tried to find a logic for that impulse, but couldn't. When he left the diner with the bags of food, he found Lily alone, sitting on the sidewalk, drawing on the ground with a twig. "Where's your grandma?" he asked, crouching down to be at the girl's height. Lily looked up, and Walter felt a pang in his chest as he saw the intelligence shining in that small gaze. "She went to the bathroom," replied the girl, with a soft voice that contrasted with her mistreated appearance. "Are you hungry?" The child nodded vigorously, but before Walter could hand over the food, Donna appeared running. "What do you want with the girl?" she asked, placing herself protectively in front of Lily. Her eyes narrowed with suspicion. "Rich people don't talk to people like us without wanting something." Walter held out the bags of food. "I just wanted to help. I saw that you were hungry." Donna hesitated, looking at the food, and then at the well-dressed man in front of her. Hunger spoke louder than distrust. "Thanks," she mumbled, taking the bags with haste, as if fearing he would change his mind. While Lily devoured the lunch with a heart-wrenching urgency, Walter asked a few subtle questions. He discovered that they lived around here, that they had no family besides each other, and that Lily had never attended school. Each answer from Donna sounded rehearsed, as if she had prepared a specific story for moments like that. "What's your name, little one?" asked Walter directly to Lily. "Lily," replied the girl, smiling for the first time since he had seen her. It was a radiant smile that completely transformed her thin face. "Like a flower," he said, and the child's smile widened even more. Donna watched the interaction with growing nervousness. "Come on, Lily. The gentleman has already been very kind, but we have to go." In the following days, Walter found excuses to return to the farmer's market. He always saw the two in the same place, always in the same desperate situation. His unease grew with each meeting. There was something deeply wrong with that situation, something that his experience in business made him sense as a well-constructed lie. Lily began to recognize him and wave shyly whenever she saw him. The child had a natural intelligence that shone through the dirt and neglect. She asked questions about his car, about his clothes, about the world beyond that small town. Each short conversation left Walter more disturbed by the girl's situation. A week after the first meeting, Walter made a decision that went against all his principles of non-emotional involvement. He offered Donna money to buy decent clothes for Lily and find a suitable place to live. "We don't need charity," replied Donna sharply. "We manage on our own." "It's not charity," insisted Walter. "It's a mother taking care of her granddaughter. Every child deserves to have the basics." The mention of motherhood made something strange happen on Donna's face. For an instant, a shadow of pain or guilt passed through her eyes before she regained her composure. "We don't accept handouts from strangers," she repeated, grabbing Lily by the hand more forcefully than necessary. Walter saw the girl wince in pain when Donna squeezed her small hand. At that moment, all his suspicions crystallized into a disturbing certainty. There was something very wrong with that situation, and Lily was suffering more than it appeared. That night, in his luxurious apartment in downtown Pleasantville, Walter couldn't sleep. The image of those big, intelligent eyes haunted him, along with a growing feeling that that child hid secrets that could destroy everything he thought he knew about his own life. 2 weeks had passed since the last meeting, and Walter couldn't get Lily out of his thoughts. The obsession had become so intense that he hired Mark Silver, a discreet private investigator who had already worked for his company in cases of unfair competition. The decision was made on a sleepless early morning when the image of the girl smiling appeared again in his mind. "I want you to find out everything about these two," said Walter, handing over the only photos he had managed to take discreetly with his cell phone. "Where they live, where they came from, if they really are grandmother and granddaughter." Mark, a 45-year-old man with experience in family investigations, examined the images with professional attention. "It'll take a few days, but I can trace their origin." "Do you suspect anything specific? I just feel that there are lies in this whole story," replied Walter, his analytical nature finally finding a concrete direction. While awaiting the results of the investigation, Walter continued his visits to the farmer's market. Lily always showed genuine joy at seeing him, but Donna became increasingly hostile and protective. The woman had started changing locations constantly, as if trying to avoid regular encounters. During one of these visits, Walter witnessed something that left him deeply disturbed. Lily had moved a few feet away to observe a stray dog, and Donna pulled her back with unnecessary violence, leaving red marks on the child's thin arm. "I told you not to leave my side," hissed Donna, her eyes shining with disproportionate anger. Lily didn't cry, but Walter noticed how she cowered, becoming smaller and more submissive. It was the behavior of a child accustomed to aggressive treatment, and it made his blood boil in a way he hadn't experienced in years. "You didn't have to be so rough with her," commented Walter, trying to keep his tone casual. "You don't have children, do you?" retorted Donna bitterly. "You don't know how hard it is to take care of a child on the street. She needs to learn to obey, or she could get lost, or worse." Donna's answer sounded like a well-rehearsed justification, but there was something in her eyes that betrayed genuine nervousness. Walter realized that she was constantly alert, as if expecting someone to appear to question her at any moment. The next day, Mark called with the first findings. "I found something interesting, Walter. This woman Donna has no record of kinship with the girl. In fact, I couldn't find practically anything about her past before 3 years ago." "What do you mean?" asked Walter, feeling his heart racing. "It's as if she appeared out of nowhere in 2021, exactly at the time when she started being seen with the child. There are no records of previous work, fixed address, nothing. And about the girl, well, that's more complicated." Walter held the phone tightly. "Talk." "Her name is really Lily, and she's 4 years old. But I found something that might interest you. There's a birth certificate for a child with that name and age, daughter of a woman named Celeste Moore. The problem is that Celeste worked at your company until 2 years ago." Walter's world seemed to stop. Celeste Moore. The name echoed in his mind like a ghost from the past. He vaguely remembered her, a competent accountant, always punctual, who had been dismissed during a restructuring that he had personally ordered to cut costs. "Are you sure?" he asked, his voice coming out weaker than he intended. "Absolutely. Celeste Moore, accountant at Sterling and Associates, fired in March 2022. According to the records I was able to access, she tried to contact the company several times after the dismissal, but never got a response." Walter hung up the phone with trembling hands. He walked to the window of his office and looked at the city that stretched below, but saw nothing but the image of a desperate woman trying to talk to him while he completely ignored her. Celeste had worked downstairs in the finance department. He saw her occasionally in the hallways, always serious and dedicated to her work. The connection between his company and Lily changed everything. The responsibility he vaguely felt now became a concrete and overwhelming guilt. If Celeste was really Lily's mother, where was she now? Why was the daughter in the hands of a stranger living on the streets? Walter called Oswald Mendez, his human resources manager, for an urgent meeting. Oswald was a 50-year-old man, always efficient and loyal, who had worked at the company for over a decade. "I need you to tell me everything about Celeste Moore," said Walter, as soon as Oswald entered the room. Oswald's face paled visibly. "Celeste? Why the sudden interest in her, Mr. Sterling?" "Just answer. What happened after her dismissal?" Oswald shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "Well, she tried to contact a few times. Bureaucratic issues about termination, nothing much. I resolved everything according to the protocols." "What kind of bureaucratic issues?" "Documents, some outstanding benefits." Oswald hesitated. "To be honest, she seemed quite desperate. She mentioned a young daughter, serious financial problems." Walter felt a stab of anger growing in his chest. "And you didn't think it was relevant to inform me about that?" "Sir, you yourself established the guidelines of not getting involved with personal issues of former employees. I thought I was following your instructions." Oswald's answer was technically correct, but there was something in his tone that sounded too defensive. Walter decided to investigate further. "I want all records related to Celeste Moore, everything. Payroll, benefits, attempts to contact, any paper that has her name on it." "That may take a few days to organize," began Oswald. "You have until tomorrow," cut off Walter with the coldness he used to close important deals. That night, Walter returned to the farmer's market, but didn't find Lily or Donna. He asked the other vendors, who said they hadn't seen the two for 3 days. The information left him desperate in a way he couldn't fully comprehend. During the following 2 days, Walter looked for the two in every possible location in the city. He visited the bus station, the bus stops, the public squares, even the local hospital. Nothing. It was as if they had disappeared from the face of the earth. On Wednesday, Mark called again with devastating information. "Walter, I found something about Celeste Moore that will shock you. She didn't disappear after the dismissal. She's been interned at St. Francis Psychiatric Hospital in Asheville for 2 years. Interned? Why? Severe nervous breakdown. According to the medical records I was able to access, she was interned shortly after losing her job, when she was facing a serious financial crisis. The initial internment was voluntary, but it was extended due to the worsening of the condition. Walter felt the ground open beneath his feet. And the daughter. How did Lily end up with Donna? That's the strangest thing. There is no official record of transfer of custody. It's as if Celeste had simply disappeared from her daughter's life, and Donna appeared to fill it. When Oswald arrived at the office the next morning, carrying a folder with the requested documents, Walter had already made a decision that would change everything. He was going to Asheville to confront Celeste personally, to discover the truth about how her daughter had ended up in the hands of a stranger. "The documents you asked for, Mr. Sterling," said Oswald, placing the folder on the desk with slightly trembling hands. Walter opened the folder and began to examine the papers. What he found made him nauseous. There were several attempts to contact from Celeste, all blocked by Oswald. Requests for financial aid, pleas for a chance to explain her situation, even a handwritten letter where she mentioned her young daughter and the desperate need to keep her job. "Why did you block all these contacts?" asked Walter, his voice charged with a dangerous coldness. "Sir, Oswald stammered. "I thought I was protecting you from unnecessary problems." But there was something in Oswald's eyes that Walter recognized from years of negotiating with dishonest people. It was fear. Fear that something much worse would be discovered. The trip to Asheville was the longest of Walter's life, even though it only lasted 2 hours. Each mile traveled increased his anxiety and the weight of the guilt he carried in his chest. St. Francis Psychiatric Hospital stood like a somber construction at the end of the road, its high walls and iron gates creating an atmosphere that made Walter question whether he was prepared for what he would find inside. Dr. Edward Smith, the psychiatrist responsible for Celeste's case, received Walter in his office with a grave expression. He was a 60-year-old man with completely white hair and tired eyes that had seen much human suffering. "Mr. Sterling, I must confess that your visit surprises me," said the doctor, adjusting his glasses. "In 2 years of internment, Celeste has never received visitors besides the social workers. How is she?" asked Walter, trying to control the anxiety in his voice. "Better. Much better, in fact." Dr. Smith opened a thick file. "Celeste arrived here in a state of total collapse, severe depression, psychotic episodes, complete mental disorganization, but in the last 6 months she has had a remarkable recovery." "Can she receive visitors?" The doctor hesitated. "Yes, she can. But there is something you need to know before. Celeste has been lucid for almost a year and has constantly questioned why she cannot see her daughter. According to her, Lily was left temporarily with an acquaintance when she was interned, but that person never allowed contact again." Walter felt the blood run cold in his veins. "Does that person have a name?" "Donna." Celeste mentions that name constantly, always with great anguish. The meeting with Celeste took place in the hospital's internal garden, a space with wooden benches surrounded by carefully cultivated flowers. When she appeared accompanied by a nurse, Walter almost didn't recognize her. The 31-year-old woman in front of him was too thin, with hair that had lost its shine and eyes that carried a deep sadness. "Mr. Sterling?" she said, her voice trembling with surprise and hope. "You came to see me?" "Celeste," he replied, struggling to find the right words. "I need to talk to you about your daughter." Celeste's face transformed instantly, passing from surprise to pure despair. "Lily, do you know where she is? Please, tell me she's okay." Walter sat next to her on the bench, watching how her hands trembled uncontrollably. "She is surviving. I found her with Donna at the Pleasantville Farmers Market." "Market?" Celeste stood up abruptly. "What do you mean, market? Donna said she would take care of her properly. She said it was only until I recovered. Tell me exactly what happened when you were interned. Celeste began to walk from one side to the other, the words coming out in a torrent. When I lost my job, I fell into despair. Lily was only 2 years old. I had no money for rent, food, nothing. I tried to talk to you several times, but I never could. Why couldn't you? Your manager, Oswald, always blocked my access. He said you didn't get involved with problems of former employees. Celeste stopped and looked directly at Walter. But I wasn't asking for favors. I was entitled to benefits I never received. Walter felt a stab of anger, but kept his focus. And Donna, how did she come into the story? I met her at the public hospital when I took Lily for a consultation. She said she had already taken care of other children, that she would help me temporarily while I was treated. Celeste sat down again, the tears starting to flow. I was so desperate, so mentally confused. I thought it was the only option. Did you sign any documents? No, it was all informal. Donna said it was better that way, that official documents could complicate things. She promised I could see Lily whenever I wanted. And then, Celeste sobbed, after I was interned, Donna disappeared. She changed her phone number, didn't leave an address. When I improved enough to go on medical leave, I looked for them everywhere. It was like they had disappeared. The conversation lasted 3 hours, and each minute revealed more disturbing details. Celeste described how Donna had insisted that she be interned for the good of the child, how she had made a point of not involving authorities to avoid bureaucracy, and how she always seemed nervous when questioned about future plans. "Mr. Sterling," said Celeste when they were preparing to say goodbye, "is Lily really okay? Does she remember me?" Walter hesitated. How to tell a mother that her daughter was living as a beggar, that she didn't remember her, that she called someone else family? "She is alive and doesn't seem to be suffering serious physical abuse," he said, choosing his words carefully. "But her situation is not suitable for a child. Please," Celeste grabbed his arm tightly, "help me get my daughter back. I'm okay now. I can take care of her, right? I just need a chance." During the trip back, Walter called Mark with specific instructions: find Donna and Lily at any cost and investigate more deeply Oswald's procedures related to Celeste's dismissal. 2 days later, Mark called with explosive findings. "Walter, I found very serious things. First, I located Donna and the girl. They are hidden in a shanty town on the outskirts of town, in a rented shack." "Hidden?" "Yes. I talked to neighbors. Donna arrived there a week ago, paid 3 months' rent in advance in cash, and said she didn't want to be bothered by anyone." "And the second discovery?" "About Oswald. I did a deeper investigation into the company records. He didn't just block Celeste's attempts to contact. He intercepted the welfare benefits she was entitled to after the dismissal." Walter almost lost control of the car. "What?" "Celeste was entitled to unemployment benefits, extended health insurance, and an emergency assistance fund that your own company offers. Oswald processed all the documentation, but directed the payments to fake accounts." "How much money?" "Over $40,000 over 2 years, money that could have prevented Celeste's mental breakdown and kept Lily with her biological mother." The revelation hit Walter like a punch to the stomach. Oswald had not only followed orders or committed negligence, he had deliberately destroyed a family and profited from it. "There's more," continued Mark. "Investigating other cases, I discovered that Oswald has done this to at least 6 former employees in the last 3 years, always choosing vulnerable people without family or connections that could question him." Walter hung up the phone and drove directly to the shantytown that Mark had mentioned. He found the shack easily. It was the only one with closed windows in the middle of a sunny afternoon. He knocked on the plywood door several times before hearing movement inside. "Who is it?" came Donna's cautious voice. "It's Walter. We need to talk." There was a long silence, then the sound of locks being opened. Donna appeared in the crack of the door, her face visibly thinner and her eyes full of fear. How did you find me? That doesn't matter. Where's Lily? Sleeping, she replied, but her eyes darted away, indicating a lie. Walter pushed the door gently but firmly, entering the tiny space. The shack had only 2 rooms, an area that served as a living room and kitchen, and a tiny bedroom in the back. The smell of humidity and mold was suffocating. "Lily," he called, and immediately heard a movement in the room. The girl appeared in the doorway, her big eyes shining as she recognized him. "Uncle Walter," she said, running to hug his legs. Seeing Lily in those conditions, thinner with even dirtier clothes, living in that unhealthy environment, awakened in Walter a fury he didn't know he possessed. "Donna," he said, his voice dangerously low. "Let's talk. And this time, you're going to tell me the truth about how you got Lily and why you're running away from me." Donna's face completely disintegrated, and she began to cry for the first time since Walter had met her. It was the cry of someone who knew that their lies had come to an end. Donna's tears flowed uncontrollably as she slumped into a broken plastic chair. Lily, frightened by the crying, ran to her and hugged her legs, demonstrating the genuine bond that had formed between them during those difficult years. "Please don't take her away from me," sobbed Donna. "I know I did wrong, but I love this girl like she was my own daughter." Walter crouched down to be at Lily's height, who was watching him with innocent curiosity. "Lily, do you remember your mommy, Mommy Celeste?" The girl frowned, her small forehead concentrating. "Mommy sang to me," she said after a moment, "but she left when I was very little." "She didn't leave, sweetheart," said Walter softly. "She got sick and needed to get treated so she could take care of you right." Donna stopped crying abruptly. "You found Celeste. How is she?" "Better, much better, and desperate to see her daughter." The silence that followed was heavy. Donna wiped her face with trembling hands and began to speak, her voice coming out in broken whispers. "I never had children," she began. "I always wanted to, but I never could. When I met Celeste at the hospital, she was so desperate, so lost. And Lily was so small, so sweet." Continue. "In the beginning, I really thought it would be temporary, but when Celeste was interned, I started to imagine what it would be like if Lily was my real daughter. I changed cities, made up the story of the grandmother." She looked at Lily with a mixture of love and guilt. "But I never hurt her. You can believe what you want about me, but I never did any harm to this child." Walter observed the interaction between the two. It was true that there was genuine love there, but he also recognized the fundamental injustice of the situation. Lily had a biological mother who loved her and was recovered. "Donna, you understand that you need to return Lily to Celeste, don't you?" "I know," she whispered. "I always knew that one day this would happen. I just wanted more time with her." At that moment, Walter's phone rang. It was Mark, with urgency in his voice. "Walter, I discovered something about Oswald that changes everything. You need to get back to the company now. I found documents that prove he didn't act alone." "What do you mean?" "There's a bigger network. Other managers are involved, and there's something about your late wife that you need to see personally." Walter looked at Lily, who had sat on the floor and was playing with a tattered rag doll, oblivious to the adults' conversation. He made a quick decision. "Donna, I'm going to take you both with me. I can't leave Lily here in these conditions, and you're not going to run away again." "Where to?" "First, to a decent hotel. Then we're going to resolve this situation once and for all." During the drive to downtown, Lily slept in the back seat while Donna told more details about the last few years. She revealed how she had used the little money she got from begging to buy food for Lily, how she had taught the girl to read using old newspapers, how she had invented stories to protect her from the harsh reality of their lives. "Why didn't you seek official help?" asked Walter. "Fear," she replied simply. "Fear that they would take her away from me. Fear of going to jail. Fear of being alone again." At the hotel, Walter provided separate rooms and appropriate clothing for both. Seeing Lily in clean clothes and a smile on her face after a warm bath touched something deep in his heart. The girl had a luminous personality that had survived intact, despite all the difficulties. The next morning, Walter headed to his company with a determination he hadn't felt in years. Mark was waiting for him in the office with a stack of documents and a somber expression. "Walter, sit down. What I'm going to show you will shake your convictions about a lot of things." The documents scattered on the table told a story of systematic corruption that involved not only Oswald, but 3 other company managers. For 5 years, they had diverted benefits from former employees, falsified documents, and concealed crucial information. "But the worst is yet to come," said Mark, handing him a separate folder. "These are copies of your wife's will, Amelia." Walter opened the folder with trembling hands. Amelia had passed away 3 years ago from cancer, leaving him devastated and emotionally closed off. The will was a document he had signed without reading completely, trusting Oswald to execute the details. What he found left him speechless. Amelia had designated a substantial amount of her personal inheritance, $200,000, for the creation of an assistance fund for employees and former employees of the company in vulnerable situations. "Oswald was the executor of the will," explained Mark. "He should have established this fund 3 years ago. Instead, he diverted all the money into personal accounts." Walter rose from the chair so forcefully that it fell backwards. The betrayal was much deeper than he had imagined. Oswald had not only stolen from vulnerable former employees, he had stolen the last wishes of Walter's wife, preventing her from doing the good she desired even after her departure. "There's more," continued Mark. "The fund that Amelia wanted to create, if it had been implemented, Celeste would have been eligible. She could have received financial and psychological help. Lily would never have had to go through all this." The final revelation hit Walter like an emotional tsunami. His own wife had tried, even in her last will, to correct the corporate coldness that she witnessed in her husband. Amelia had always been more compassionate, more attentive to the human side of business. Walter called an emergency meeting with all senior managers. When Oswald entered the conference room, he found his boss with an expression he had never seen, a mixture of controlled fury and absolute determination. "Oswald," said Walter, his voice cutting through the silence like a blade, "I want you to explain to everyone present what you did with my wife's testamentary fund." Oswald's face paled instantly. "Mr. Sterling, I don't understand." $200,000, Oswald, destined to help people like Celeste Moore. "Where is that money?" The room became absolutely silent. Oswald tried to stammer an explanation, but Walter cut off any attempt at justification. "You're fired. Not just fired. You're being prosecuted criminally. You and all your accomplices in this company." In the weeks that followed, Walter completely transformed his way of doing business. He implemented the assistance fund that Amelia had dreamed of, compensated all the harmed former employees, and established strict policies of transparency and social responsibility. The most emotional moment came when he organized the reunion between Celeste and Lily. It happened in the garden of the hospital, where Celeste was completing her outpatient treatment. Walter watched from a distance as mother and daughter slowly recognized each other. "Mommy?" said Lily, hesitant but with a glimmer of recognition in her eyes. "My little one," whispered Celeste, kneeling down and opening her arms. Lily ran into her mother's embrace, and both cried together as 3 years of separation dissolved in seconds of pure love. Donna, who had insisted on witnessing the encounter, was also crying, but they were tears of relief and acceptance. Walter approached her and placed his hand on her shoulder. "You saved this child's life," he said. "Even though you made a mistake, you protected and loved her when she needed it most. And now, what's going to become of me?" Walter smiled, a genuine smile he hadn't given in years. "Now you're going to help run the foster care center I'm creating." You have experience caring for vulnerable children, and they need someone who understands what it is to suffer. 6 months later, Celeste was working again as an accountant, this time at Walter's own company, under fair conditions and with all the necessary support. Lily attended a private school paid for by Walter, but on weekends she visited Donna at the foster care center, maintaining the bond that had become an unconventional but real family. Walter discovered that true wealth was not in the deals he closed, but in the lives he touched. The cold and calculating man had transformed into someone who honored Amelia's memory through concrete actions of compassion. On the afternoon that Lily ran to him at the farmer's market, now dressed appropriately and radiant with happiness, to show him a drawing she had made at school, Walter understood that that spit he had witnessed months ago had not only changed the life of a child, it had saved his own soul, teaching him that true success is measured by the ability to lift others up when they need it most.